Tonight is a very important moment in our nation's history, as our president will be selecting the next Supreme Court justice. In a few moments, I'll be sending off a letter to our Senator Susan Collins, who made some comments last week that I'd like to address. Here's the letter. Senator Collins, last week, regarding President Trump's pick to fill Justice Kennedy's vacant seat on the Supreme Court, you referred to precedent and established law when you stated that you would not support a nominee who demonstrated hostility to Roe v. Wade. Given the Maine GOP platform, which in Section 7 states, because the family is the foundation and strength of a stable society, the government must not interfere, but rather support and protect the integrity and rights of the family. Therefore, we, 1, promote family values. 2, support defining marriage as the union of one man and one woman. 3, believe parents, not government, are most capable and responsible to make decisions in the best interest of their minor children, including medical, disciplinary, and educational decisions. 4, believe in the sanctity of human life, from conception to natural death. 5, support prohibiting the use of state funds for abortions or activities that run counter to the sanctity of human life. And lastly, number 6, support faith-based family resources. Given that there are thousands of years of precedent regarding the sanctity of life, why would you side with the sentiments of activist judges just because America hasn't successfully challenged their decision for 40+ years? Are these justices infallible? As far as established law is concerned, you would be hard-pressed to discover texts more ancient and established than the Scriptures. Regarding raising children and the sanctity of life, Genesis 1:28 states, "And God blessed them, and God said to them, Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over every living thing that moves on earth." Exodus 20:13, "You shall not murder." Ezekiel 23:37, "For they have committed adultery, and blood is on their hands. With their idols they have committed adultery, and they have even offered up to them for food the children whom they had borne to me." These onesies. Daddy is my hero? Dude, your girlfriend keeps checking me out. These onesies I'll be enclosing. They represent the roughly 60 million babies, precious little American boys and girls, that could have worn them, that could have grown out of them and gone on to make their mark upon this world. Roe versus Wade prevented any of this from happening for those little ones. Instead, these souls were forcefully ripped from their mother's womb. Perhaps the greatest illustration of pristine safety known to man is the womb. And these souls were summarily snuffed out in the name of choice. Seems rather harsh to me. Permit me to suggest that yours is the hostile position. It's hostile to God, to the history of man, to American ideals, to the honor of motherhood, to the American voters who turned out to elect Donald J. Trump, and most of all to the thousands of babies that Roe versus Wade is enabling to be butchered daily under the guise of reproductive rights. In 2009, President Obama reproved Republican legislators with this remark: "Elections have consequences, and at the end of the day, I won. So I think on that one, I trump you." Well, I concede that President Obama is right. Elections do have consequences. I would encourage you to give all of the aforementioned some thought before casting your vote for the next Supreme Court justice. For what it's worth, James Mosher. Put a PS here, and I enclose the handprints of my children. My wife and I have 2 boys and 2 girls. My oldest son and daughter here, my youngest son and daughter here. P.S. also enclosed are handprints of our 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls, that would have never known this life had their mother executed her freedom to choose.
All right, in a few minutes, I'm going to be dialing Senator Susan Collins' office in D.C. I sent out an email Friday asking her essentially the questions that I'm about to address on the phone. I'm asking them in slightly a different way, but the office responded. I think it was a computer-generated and automated response. The gist of this email, her response is, I consider carefully the nominee's intellect, integrity, qualifications, experience, temperament, and respect for the Constitution and the rule of law. This is the approach I've taken with every judicial nominee who has come before me, some of whom I have supported and some of whom I've voted against. So here goes, calling her office. 202-224-2523.
Hello. Thank you for calling Senator Susan Collins' Washington, D.C. office. Your call is very important, and we look forward to hearing your thoughts and comments. To leave a message for Senator Collins about current issues, please press 1. For information about Senator Collins' office address and hours, please press 2. For information on how to reach Senator Collins' press team, please press 3. For instructions on how to submit a scheduling request, please press 4. To speak to a member of Senator Collins' staff, please press 0. To replay these options, thank you for calling the office of Senator Susan Collins. Please leave your message after the tone.
Well, this is rather convenient. I've got about 4 questions for the senator that I sent in an email on Friday. I received back a generic response. My name is James Mosher. I'm going to be trying the Augusta office. I'm a constituent up here in Maine. And as I said, I've got 4 questions that I've written down for brevity's sake. And I will try back. Thank you. So anyhow, here goes my call to the Augusta office, which is 622-8414. See if I got all my ducks in a row here. Yes, sir. Who's this?
This is an intern.
What's your name, sir?
Colin.
You said Tom?
Colin.
Colin, my name is James Mosher. I'm a constituent of Senator Collins. I live north of you. And I just tried calling the office down in D.C. and as you can imagine, it's pretty difficult to get in contact with the D.C. office. So I'm calling you. I sent out an email on Friday and received back. I mean, I asked several pointed questions that if you have time, I've asked them in a different way this time around, but I didn't receive the answers. I got a generic, what seems to me to be an automated response. Do you have a moment? Shouldn't take more than a few minutes. And I've written these down so that for brevity's sake, if you don't mind. So if it sounds kind of mechanical, I don't mean it to be.
Absolutely. What would you like to say?
All right. So over a week ago now, Senator Collins made the following remarks. You're pretty familiar with them, I'm sure, Colin, but I'll go through anyway. Regarding the views of the next nominee for the Supreme Court, I'm quoting from Beth Quimby's column in the Portland Press-Herald that ran on July 1st. And here's the exact piece. That's 2 paragraphs. Speaking on CNN State of the Union, Maine's senior senator said she would support nominees who consider Roe v. Wade, the 1973 landmark Supreme Court decision that overturned laws criminalizing or restricting access to abortion, a settled matter. And this is the senator's quote, which you're no doubt all too familiar with now. Regarding Chief Justice John Roberts, she says, has made very clear that he considers Roe v. Wade to be settled law. I would not support a nominee who demonstrated hostility to Roe v. Wade, Collins said. So these are my questions. You still there?
Yeah, absolutely. What would you like to?
All right. So here's the first one, and like I said, essentially I said this in the email that I sent. So question 1: given Senator Collins' penchant for precedent and established law, how does the senator justify bucking the platform of the Maine GOP? And I'm talking specifically Section 7 of the 2018 convention platform, going down to Section 7 reads, "Because the family is the foundation and strength of a stable society," and that's just the gist of it. I'll go down to number 4. "We believe in the sanctity of human life from conception to natural death." It seems to me that the senator has gone in the opposite direction. Go ahead.
The Maine GOP platform is not national law. It's not something that's decided on by the Supreme Court. And Senator Collins is well within her right to have her own positions as she sees fit for her constituents and her own personal values. And she was elected by her constituents to do so. It's not settled law because it's passed by a state party.
But we're talking specifically about precedent. If precedent, this is my question too. If the gist of precedent really boils down to what others have decided in the past, i.e., some justices in the 1970s, how does Senator Collins justify thwarting the decision of Maine voters? You just brought her constituency up. The 2nd Congressional District turned out in droves to vote for President Trump. So as a Republican senator from Maine, shouldn't her views be more in line with her constituency rather than adhering to the presupposition of activist judges who departed from thousands of years of precedent when they decide?
Senator Collins believes in upholding settled law. That's a stare decisis. That's a common judicial doctrine that's been part of the Supreme Court for pretty much its entire existence. And so at the point where you're asking her to nominate activist judges, that would be breaking from years of precedent of how senators decide judicial nominees, and also a good deal of conservative judicial theorists would think that's also not an excellent idea. So I can pass your comments along to the senator, sir. Have a great day.
Hey, Colin. I got 2 more. Can you entertain 2 more?
Oh, absolutely.
Given the confirmation of Judge Kavanaugh to the D.C. Circuit in 2006, the majority of senators, including Susan Collins, approved of him over a decade ago. Will her preconceived notions about hostility to Roe v. Wade cause Senator Collins to obstruct the precedent set by the U.S. Senate in 2006?
Well, Senator Collins hasn't evaluated just nominee Kavanaugh quite yet, so she won't give a statement until she's had a chance to evaluate them. I can read you her statement on Kavanaugh's nomination if you'd like.
Sure.
So Senator Collins, one moment, sorry, I need to pull up the statement. I just closed it. Said that Judge Kavanaugh has impressive credentials and extensive experience, having more than a decade on the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. I will conduct a careful, thorough vetting of the President's nominee for the Supreme Court, as I have done with the 5 previous Supreme Court justices whom I have considered. I look forward to Judge Kavanaugh's public hearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee and questioning him in a meeting in my office. So Senator Collins, as a matter of policy, doesn't give statements about how she'll vote prior to her chance to evaluate the candidate in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee and in front of herself personally in her office. So he needs to be evaluated first before she can start stating how she'll vote on him.
I guess what I'm saying is, if we're talking specifically about precedent, and 2006, the evaluation is already. I presume that she did her homework on the man before voting for him in 2006, correct?
Yes.
So will she be? I mean, you already gave me a pat answer, so I'll accept it. Let me just give you. You've been more than what's the word? Respectful, and you've given me a listening ear. So let me just ask this last one, and I'll be done if that's okay.
Absolutely. What would you like to say?
And if you'll permit me, like I said, I sent an email via the webpage. Is there email for her press secretary or somebody else that I can, because all of this is in an email that I'm reading from. I'd like to send it on. Just
did you send that email, sir?
Pardon?
When did you send that email, sir?
Can I resend it?
No, when did you send that email, sir?
On Friday.
Oh, then it's certainly in the queue, right, and we'll process it as soon as possible. Just takes us a couple of days to formulate a response.
But Colin, it looks like it's been processed because she says, "Dear Mr. Mosher, thank you for contacting me," and goes on to say, she gives pretty much a pat answer, or whoever's written this. I presume it's a template because it looks like that. It doesn't answer the gist of my question. It doesn't give me a definitive answer for the questions that I've asked.
Well, I encourage you to resend through that same email address and specify that you were unsatisfied with your response. I can't give you any more personal emails for any of the senator's staffers.
You can't provide me with a different contact email?
No.
Colin is. I'm a member of the electorate here. You can look up my information. You certainly can. That email I sent has got all my information in it, my address, my phone number, all that stuff. And effectively, we both understand that the way our government works, that she effectively works for me. So I can't get the boss is one of the bosses here. I can't get in touch with her.
So there's no passing it along to a staffer would just lead it to it being put into the same system as if you emailed it through the main site. I would just suggest you use the form on her website, sir.
All right. Well, thank you, Colin. Let me ask this last one, okay? That way I can state that I've contacted Colin at the Augusta office. All right. So Roe versus Wade has been contested since the decision in 1973. Pro-lifers view abortion as a procedure that is invasive to the living, and perhaps there's no greater depiction of hostility than penetrating the sanctified environment of the womb to sever all possibility of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for the unborn. Does Senator Collins recognize the irony of her statement when she says she will not appoint a justice that is hostile to Roe versus Wade?
I can't speak to it. I'm not required to answer that, and I can't speak to whether Senator Collins experiences that kind of irony about any statement that she makes, sir. I'll pass your comments along, though. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Hey, thank you, Colin.